Welcome to the Southeast Europe Regional Conference on Media and Information Literacy. I want to greet you all warmly, all of you who will be watching us through Zoom and all of you who are present here today with us. I will make just a quick technical note. All of you who need translation, please make sure to use the interpretation button on the bottom of your screens. We will be hosting the conference in English. My name is Hanna Sokolovic. I will be moderating today's conference, but on all of that we will speak a bit more later. For the beginning, I would like to invite Mr. Siniša Šešum, who is the head of UNESCO office in Bosnia and Herzegovina, to greet and address our participants.
Good morning. Thank you, Hanna. Esteemed Minister Kushi, Minister of Education and Sports of Albania, esteemed Minister Hota Muminovic, Minister of Education of Sarajevo Canton, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear partners, colleagues, and friends. As you may hear already, my name is Siniša Šešum. I am head of UNESCO office in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is part of the Regional Bureau for Science and Culture in Europe. And it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you all today on behalf of UNESCO to our regional Southeast European Conference on Media and Information Literacy. Let me start by highlighting that this conference is organized within the overall framework of the EU-funded project Building Trust in Media in Southeast Europe and Turkey Phase 2, and we wish to sincerely thank the European Union for their continued support to advance media and information literacy in our region. As most you might know, UNESCO and European Union have embarked on an ambitious project to strengthen media and information literacy skills of the citizens, and in particular of the youth of the region. And I am very glad to see so many representatives of our youth represented here today as speakers, participants, or journalists reporting on our conference, such as the Southeastern European Youth Newsroom. A special welcome to all of you. The choice of today to have our regional conference is not accidental. Next week, UNESCO is celebrating its 10th Media and Information Literacy Week under the theme Media and Information Literacy for the Public Good. Promoting information as a public good has been a call of UNESCO at 2021 World Press Freedom Day to acknowledge the challenges faced by media sector in a context where the viability of the news media has significantly worsened, and in a context where internet companies continue to be criticized for making profits out of flows of content that relay big volumes on dissemination and on disinformation and the hate speech. The availability of journalism is increasingly mediated by these companies, but without them prioritizing its distinctiveness and importance within the wider context. In these times of unprecedented flows of information and disinformation, people risk being confused for citizens everywhere to develop and reinforce their skills and knowledge to make informed judgments and decisions, and critically engage in sustainable development, for which information as a public good is indispensable. Equally important is citizens' knowledge of their own rights to freedom of expression and the importance of the role of the journalist for the production of reliable information. Therefore, capacity building is needed for each individual to contribute to and benefit from the information and communication opportunities. UNESCO aggregates these specific knowledge and skills under the banner of the media and information literacy. Since we are celebrating this year the 10th anniversary of UNESCO Global Media Information Literacy Week, it is a good moment for us to take a stock of the key developments that have taken place in the past decade, and notably for our region. And it is my hope that today's conference will help us better understand what has been done and what still needs to be done in the days to come. This period has been a turning point in the recognition of the urgency to promote media and information literacy for all, and the COVID-19 crisis has been another accelerator. The need for MIL integration in formal education is increasingly recognized by authorities in their policies and strategies. We will have the pleasure to hear from some of educational ministries of our region today, but there is also different approaches and experience from which we will hear about in the first panel. We will, for instance, hear from some of beneficiaries of UNESCO work and its partners to pilot MIL curriculum in selected schools of Albania and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Internet companies, the media, they are also placing more interest on the MIL skills needed to help audiences understand the distinctiveness of the quality of the journalism, the risk of conspiracy theories, the techniques, and advertising. This will be discussed at our today afternoon session. The number of MIL projects in our region has been multiplied over the year. We should welcome that. What we need now is more synergies and integration of these different projects, ensuring that outcomes and tools developed are benefiting to most citizens of our region. This is why UNESCO has recently launched a new regional MIL platform, which will be presented to you later on. Please feel free to engage with us and ask the questions in the chat or on Twitter, and please be engaged during the entire conference. I wish you a very fruitful conference, and once more, I'm really sorry for not being with you today in the room because I'm presently in confinement. Thank you once more.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shashum. As you've already said, it would be our great pleasure to see all of our participants engaging in the content that will be shared during the whole conference. So we strongly encourage you to use the chat, the Q&A button, to give your comments, to ask questions, and to participate as much as possible in this form of our conference. Now, we will obviously be enjoying all of the beauties of working online, so in case you experience any technical issues, don't worry, we will be ready to wait for your connection to get stable. As Mr. Shashum said, the period behind us, the COVID pandemic, has basically shown us how important media and information literacy is for people of all generations, not only youth, but also the elderly ones, because we now see how strongly it affects different dimensions of life, speaking of health, security, gain of information, and other aspects of society functioning that we have witnessed in the last year and more. The recent period has definitely been a turning point, and this is an event that will take into consideration this dimension as well. We will begin our conference with the first panel named Strategies and Policies panel, where we will discuss different forms of integrating media and information literacy into formal education and how to enable sustained integration within the institutional framework. Our panelists today are Ms. Nejda Hota Mominovic, who is the Minister of Education of Sarajevo Canton, and joining us through Zoom we have Ms. Zavis Kushi, who is the Minister of Education and Sports of Albania, and Mr. Emir Vajzovic, who is an Associate Professor at Faculty of Political Sciences, University of Sarajevo. I want to thank you all for being a part of this conference today, and I would like to begin with a question for you, Mr. Hota. Speaking from the context of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Sarajevo Canton, has the COVID-19 pandemic kind of been an accelerator for promoting media and information literacy in formal education, or was this already a priority?
I'm not really sure. Hello to everyone, first of all. I'm not really sure whether the pandemic has accelerated anything. It just showed how deep the crisis in terms of media and information literacy is, not only here, but all around the world. Dealing with evidence, scientific achievement, and the truth itself has never been such a challenge. Promoting it, bringing it forth, and fostering, I would say, confidence in proper information has always been a challenge, but it has really showed now during the pandemic how deep it is and how a powerful and important task it is for everyone who deals with media, information literacy, and who delivers information on a global scale. So it's not only about the media who share information and deliver information. It is also about all different platforms, all different means of communication, and what has been accelerated is communication itself. So I believe that by promoting an objective approach to events, to information, promoting evidence-based decisions, promoting a way how to address the vox populi, if you wish, I think it is among the greatest challenges. Someone once said that the opinion is the weakest form of information. So I believe that what we deal here now, what we live here, is a crisis of ideas, is a crisis of information. And it really results in all different other forms of crisis in the society.
So where do we stand in addressing these challenges in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Canton Sarajevo, to be more specific?
We do have to promote a pluralistic society, a society in a context of a public space being shared with all the participants and having equal opportunities to take part in the public space itself. This is one issue. Another issue would be to promote responsibility towards being present in the public era. This specific responsibility is both individual and collective. And where are we? I'm not sure. So this responsibility is under a big question mark. I would say that both professionals and laymen are not really aware of the power words and information can produce.
Yes, and we have witnessed this power, especially in the last period, where we see it's not only now a question of how we experience, I don't know, political or social moments. We see that it now affects our health, our safety, the way, basically, you know, even to the point where it might affect the question of life. Now, speaking of media and information literacy being something that obviously is in a lack. I mean, we lack it definitely as a society here in the Western Balkans, but as well in general we see that the need for media and information literacy is raising. Whether, from your point of view, is formal education the right address to begin this process of educating?
Of course, as mathematical skills are important, it is very important to develop proper skills in terms of critical thinking and decision making. And I believe that we still did not move very far away from an educational background that really belongs to the 20th century still, and we are already deep in the 21st century. What we have here is still a very old and pattern of teaching and pattern of learning that is really still focused on mere information and developing a proper attitude towards information. This is the highest level of being an educator and educating students. And in order to do so, we have to have very skilled teachers who know their job, and teachers who are well educated themselves in terms of critical thinking and in terms of delivering tasks that would produce such skills. I believe that we do have many things to do, and talking about a strategy, talking about an action plan, talking about how to implement the aims of developing critical thinking skills with every student. I think this is a really very challenging task, but it needs to be done. Otherwise, you know, if we talk about having the proper objective approach and having the ability to think critically and to get objective information, this is really among the sets of human rights. And it is probably the non-material human right. But, you know, it is equally important as being free. So it is equally important as having the right to work, to get educated. So I believe if we consider it as a set, as an item in the set of human rights, then probably we will redefine the whole strategy.
My question, kind of to put this in a specific context of formal education, will be, given that we already know, especially now during the pandemic and with the school being online and a lot of things that have been affecting the way knowledge is being transferred today, what would be the optimal ways of integrating MIL into formal education, given the number of subjects that already exist, the attention that is basically through time getting lower, the range of attention of young people that is getting lower through time, how to address everything you've just spoke about, but to manage to incorporate it into the existing frames of formal education?
Well, if we consider the MIL, media information literacy, as a human right, among the set from the human rights, and if we develop it to a level of a lifestyle, then it cannot be a subject. It's not a school subject to be taught for 1 year or 2 years. It is something that needs to be integrated in every subject. So it is a cross-curricular activity, basically. Anything that we want to achieve in terms of developing a certain lifestyle with our students needs to be done from the methodological point of view through every subject. And this is very important. And every subject has a specific area how to implement critical thinking skills, how to develop them, and how to develop the specific responsibility that I've already mentioned of delivering information and receiving information, because it's not only about giving information in the space, in the public space, it's also about achieving and accepting the level of how and when do we really get information, which information, how does it shape our attitude, etc.
Thank you very much for all of your answers, Minister Hota.
Thank you.
Now I would like to ask Minister Kushi on her thoughts of the topic. What is the current state of media and information literacy in Albania? What are the challenges that young people in formal education, but other generations as well, are facing when it comes to accepting or implementing basically the skills of critical thinking, of media and information literacy in their daily lives? Has the pandemic as well shown how much we do need this skill to, at this point, be able to, well, it might be a little dramatic to say to survive, but at this point we definitely need the skill to be able to differ what brings benefits to our health and what might bring harm?
Honorable ministers, dear colleagues, I'm really honored to participate in this meeting and to have the opportunity to share our views, policies, and experiences on a very important topic, such as media and information literacy. I think there are many reasons why we're all here in this meeting, but I would mention only 3 of them, which I believe are really very important. The first reason is, of course, the ever-changing local, regional, and global reality, where the development of technology has created a new world, the digital world, which is progressing very fast, creating new opportunities for children and young adults to foster their knowledge and creative skills. But on the other hand, this digital information world has increased the risks that children and young adults are facing in their upbringing. Therefore, it is of great importance for them to be well informed through trustworthy and reliable sources in order to make good decisions and solve problems in their everyday life. The second reason, which is closely linked with both our present reality and the future vision, is our mission of education, which is preparing young generation for the labor market, creating opportunities for them to master the necessary competencies and skills. And it is of greatest responsibility as policymaker, not only to know the changing reality we are living in, but also to anticipate the future trends of life. Only in this way, we can support the young generation in embracing the positive future changes and using the online world as a tool for their own empowerment through gaining knowledge, skills, attitudes, and behaviors for living a healthy and responsible life. We are absolutely sure and confident that this approach could only be ensured through qualitative education. And the third reason for being here today is our common and strong commitment to successfully fulfilling our education mission. Having this in mind, we have already designed a national strategy for media and information literacy. And an important step is, of course, the work done by Quality Assurance Agency for Pre-University Education, ASCAP, in designing a teacher training program on this topic. Media and information literacy is already part of our pre-university education national strategy, which will create and assure the right conditions to make it part of the teaching and learning process starting from an early age. During the recent years, there have been initiatives and continuous efforts that helped pave the way of making media and information literacy a priority and sustainable education policy at national level. But COVID-19 pandemic situation sped up this process. We are more than convinced that media and information literacy is the new dimension which will help the younger generation shape their characters and strengthen their competencies for democratic culture. Therefore, we consider it as a great educational, moral, and legal obligation towards younger generation. As Minister of Education and Sports in Albania, I take this opportunity today to thank in particular Albanian Media Institute for the long and continuous cooperation with the ministry and for its great efforts to make media and information literacy both part of the educational policy and part of the sustainable educational and teaching practices in schools. I would also like to emphasize the attention we give to the cooperation with all the actors of public institutions and civil society, striving to make education an issue for all the society. The participation in this meeting of representatives from countries in the region is a clear example of not only our common aims and goals in the field of education, but also of our need to share our experiences and best practices to reach them. This is not a new cooperation, in fact, that has started now, but a long-standing cooperation, which has already given its positive results in the field of education and beyond. The initiative of media and information literacy is the result of our continuous cooperation and collaboration with UNESCO. More specifically, it comes after the extraordinary joint work carried out for the analysis of the education system in Albania and the recommendations given for the educational reform in Albania. Albania Education Policy Review Issues and Recommendations is a joint publication of UNESCO and Albanian Institute for Education Development, today ASCAP, which serves as a reference point and a programmatic document for the educational reform in Albania. The project of media and information literacy is a new cooperation between the Ministry of Education and Sport and UNESCO through Albanian Media Institute, which is being successfully implemented by ASCAP. It aims at training all teachers in the field of media and information literacy. A curriculum and teacher training modules developed by UNESCO stay, of course, at the core of the project. The first phase is piloting the modules in 20 schools, where teachers of all subjects are being trained, observed, and supported in their teaching practices. The second phase will be training the leaders of professional networks for all subjects. And the final aim is, of course, reaching all the students in all the schools of Albania. Finally, I'd like to express our readiness and commitment to make media and information literacy part of the educational process in all levels of pre-university education in Albania. A full picture will be when media and information literacy will be included in the tertiary education, where the new teachers are prepared. We all are aware of the difficulties and the challenges of this process. This is the reason why we started with the piloting phase, to measure the readiness of our education system and decide on the future steps to make media and information literacy part of the teacher training scheme, as well as part of the national curriculum framework. We want to progress slowly but surely, and we hope that our experience will help us, as well as countries in the region, to analyze all the problems, difficulties, and challenges, and make good decisions for solving problems in the future. Wishing you successful conference and all the best. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Minister Kushi, for sharing the experience of Albania, but also emphasizing something that will be an important dimension of this conference, and that is the different roles of different stakeholders and the importance of all of them working together, sharing a common goal, and that is giving the needed space to media and information literacy in the educational systems. We also, as I said at the beginning, have Mr. Emir Vajzovic today here with us on this panel, who is an associate professor at the Faculty of Political Sciences. Now, the Institute for Social Research at the Faculty of Political Sciences has been working for 6 years now together with UNESCO to find different strategies to promote MIL in Bosnia and Herzegovina. What are the main impressions of these experiences? Let's begin with, do people understand the importance of MIL? Do they feel like it is a skill or it is the knowledge that they need to have?
Thank you for your question, and greetings to all participants here in the UN building and all the viewers globally through Zoom platform. Very happy to be here and very excited to hear esteemed ministers of education with their vision and wisdom of how necessary media information literacy is. This is the crucial first step in kind of achieving our ultimate goal, is to implement media information literacy as an umbrella and key competence in society that has undergone digital transformation, and which implies informed and educated citizen as proactive member of society with drives to be towards the society based on knowledge and to promote human rights and democratic discourse. The answer to your question can be very simple, and it's no. It's not really clear to, unfortunately, most of people how important media information literacy is. There are few reasons for this. It will be too long to enter into this process, but I can say what we have done so far in order to demystify all the concepts and approaches in media information literacy. As you said, we are now in our 6th year of very dedicated, painstaking focus on understanding and developing methods to approach and integration of media information literacy in education, but in general in society. As you say, and I'm very glad that this conference is titled Media Information Literacy as public good, but also as a common good that we have to develop it. So far, we have been developing our approach to 3, let's say, key corner pillars. Research and development, very rigorous academic excellence and science being put into publishing so far 4 books, 2 background papers, 5 position papers, total of, I asked my colleagues to calculate just for sake of fun, we're talking about more than 1,000 pages of very detailed and precise analysis and solutions for how to integrate media information literacy. Among others, we have developed upgraded and custom-made curriculum for media information literacy education, which is published in one of our books I mentioned. We have done several empirical researches, a lot of focus groups, but also workshops with different target groups in order to listen. This part of listening is something that is rarely done, and we have listened to teachers, librarians, students of all levels, stakeholders, special interest groups, and as a result, we understood that second pillar, which is very important, is developing policies and strategies for sustainable and feasible integration of media information literacy. Why I emphasize this is because very often, as everything in digital society, also decision makers have to make quick impact and visible results. This is not really possible with the integration of media information literacy. That's why we need policy interventions that will be long-term sustainable and feasible in terms of investment and impact. So I'm very happy, and I have to extend my gratitude first to United Nations, especially UNESCO, for this long-term partnership and support, and then to all education authorities in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which have recognized importance of this and recognized our dedicated approach in partnering towards this very long process that is hopefully kind of now coming to a feasible solution. Actually, the optimal model that we have developed. We call it hybrid model of multi-stage integration. It's a concept which is relying on previous work of UNESCO in media information literacy, but specifically tailored for Bosnia and Herzegovina in 2021 with this idea to be, as I said, feasible and sustainable. We're talking about, yes, sorry.
Can we speak on a more specific level on the strategy in Sarajevo Canton?
Yes. Well, thanks to this very long and fruitful cooperation with authorities in Canton Sarajevo, even though we have a turbulent political situation every now and then and often change of ministers, the idea is there and need to work on this together. So for the past 6 years already, we've been working on this, and now it's culminated in establishing the working group for drafting strategy of integrating media information literacy into educational system in Canton Sarajevo. Well, next Monday, in a few days, we have the consultations again in media information literacy strategies and policies in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where we'll present main goals and measures and discuss again with the key stakeholders on the best way forward. This is the third in the series. We have done this in 2018, 2020, and now this year, and hopefully we'll be submitting, which is our obligation by the decision, to submit the draft strategy to the ministry probably by the end of the month. And hopefully Canton Sarajevo government will adopt it very soon, and we'll be able to kind of move forward from there to this another milestone now, implementing it, which is hopefully something that will benefit everybody in educational system, but more importantly, everybody in the Bosnian Herzegovinian society, which is the goal of all what we are doing.
Thank you very much, Professor Vajzovic. I'm going to fill in on what you just spoken and ask another question to Minister Hota Mominovic. I'm thinking how you defined, and I like that, how you defined the ability to develop critical thinking and the ability to have media and information literacy as a human right. Now, is it, looking at it from that perspective, is it an obligation of the Ministry of Education, not only yours, but all in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but other states as well in Southern and Eastern Europe, is it your obligation, as well as the obligation of educational systems, schools, professors, teachers, to provide this human right, and how to do it in a sense that everybody gets well equipped and well taught?
The education itself has a very important role to help the individuals achieve their optimum in terms of development, and helping them move on and helping them be really the creators of circumstances. This can only come if they have the opportunity to consume all their rights, human rights. So defining media information literacy not only as a skill, but as a human right from the third generation of human rights is to be imposed as an obligation, as you said, through all decision-making processes. So everyone who has the responsibility to create policies, to make decisions, has to bear this in mind. So as a Minister of Education, I really see it that way. It is our duty, our common duty, to achieve such a stage of media information literacy as it is defined in the very title of this conference. So it is a public good. You know, like fresh air, like clean waters, it is a public good to be used, consumed, and recycled in a way, which means, again, that we have to develop responsibility with our students. And, you know, it is a very challenging issue. It really comes together with many other pedagogical issues, like developing a non-violent society and circumstances for everyone to be completely integrated in the process. I think as a society, in terms of the degree of violence being present in our society, all sorts of violence, we have so much work to do. And it all comes together. So distributing misinformation, misconcepts is a form of violence, basically.
Thank you. Thank you. I really do like the analogies you make in providing a closer understanding of how important it is to integrate MIL into formal education. Now back to you, Professor Vajzovic. Could you give us some insight on the piloting process of teacher training to pilot MIL curricula that was developed in the project Building Trust in Media?
The concept and approach for piloting was developed to the process I've explained, and total of 1,300 people were involved in process of developing this model, among which more than 50 university professors and experts from all Bosnia and Herzegovina and the region. And we have done this in several phases, smaller scale to larger one. As the focus of our hybrid model of multi-stage integration is the position of library and librarians as a focal point that can be a multiplier subject in working in horizontal and vertical integration of media information literacy, which means, as Minister pointed out, it should not be a separate core subject. We have to embrace the challenges that digital transformation and new age of digital learning has brought us, and work on cross-curriculum competencies and professional cooperation within the school to open, having in mind constructive pedagogy approach of making open classroom actually open school to involve experience and learning through research or guided inquiry design methodology, as we have found solution. Piloting so far we have done through several workshops in different schools a few years back, then in one primary school in Canton Sarajevo last year, and now we are working across Bosnia and Herzegovina, focused on three educational systems in Canton Sarajevo, HNK Canton, and Republika Srpska, working at the first stage with librarians, going through our modules of curriculum, and strengthening librarians to almost reinvent themselves, actually to be what their initial design is to be, organization and providing of information and knowledge within their surroundings. Next stage, we'll be working with teachers in this professional cooperation together with librarian throughout all core subjects or curriculum that will then benefit the entire community to improve their media information literacy skills, but also to empower them to be, as I said, the ultimate goal, proactive citizens in society, which have already undergone the digital transformation. There are a few elements that I have to emphasize how we designed this to work. One of them is embracing new phenomenon, actually new approach in introducing digital dynamic learning objects. Basically, digital learning tools and content that can be regularly updated, improved, because already now, once you publish a book, a textbook especially, it's already outdated. And we need to use open educational resources as a platforms for these key learning tools within the system. Next one is as a method which is specially designed for improving information literacy and widely tested by authors in United States and around the world, some modified version of guided inquiry design, actually learning through research, basically, that community of teachers, librarians, with students would work on improving their skills and knowledge continuously. Yes.
Yeah, I want to make a link. You've mentioned librarians, and it is a good thing that we will have one as a panelist in one of our panels who will share the experience of this kind of remodeling of their role, making it not anymore a traditional librarian role, but now giving them new skills and new knowledge which they can transfer on to young people. But also, I would like to know what is the progress with the strategy on the state level? What is your role when it comes to the process, including the Ministry of Civil Affairs of Bosnia and Herzegovina?
Well, thank you for that question. The process is nowhere to be found for obvious reasons. I mean, which is beyond science, research, and academic work. It's mainly political. Therefore, we have little influence on this process. But I can say that before the let's say, political lockdown, in 2018, we had great progress with Ministry of Civil Affairs, but also Ministry of Communications, Ministry of Security, Communications Regulatory Agency of Bosnia and Herzegovina, all entity and cantonal ministries, where already in 2018 we came to understanding of importance of media information literacy and how proceed forward. Unfortunately, from that point on, there was little, let's say, activity on the state level in making this state priority.
Well, not so good news. But if we, yeah, not good news at all. But if we put things into perspective, as we did through this panel, perceiving MIL as human rights, it is something that should be a political priority as well. So yeah, let's keep all of our fingers crossed that that will change. Now, Minister Hota Mominovic, I'm now considering, for example, through my formal education, I did not have a specific subject MIL, and it kind of basically any knowledge transferring on critical thinking, or at that phase MIL, which was not as popular as a concept as it is now, it all was dependent on a teacher, on a professor, whether they will do it or not. They were not obligated in any way to do it. And now I'm thinking, yeah, we relied on non-formal education mostly. And now I'm thinking, if we do not provide these new generations of young people with these skills, where are we heading?
Well, it's a chaotic society if you don't have a proper, let's say, code of communication. And it really is about raising the awareness of how important it is to educate young people. But as I mentioned previously, we first have to educate and professionally develop our teachers too. It should never be left to individual efforts. So among the professional catalog of all the skills a teacher should possess is also being able to teach media and information literacy. I'm talking here about a standardization process which should guarantee equality in the end. And here in Canton Sarajevo, we are in the middle of an educational reform. And I believe that we will have to define this component. So it's the teacher's catalog and all the professional skills a teacher should have. So by defining this catalog of skills with our teachers and professionally develop them as here we already had examples of such projects, It should never be only project-based. It is good to inspire and be inspired by projects, but it has to be the official agenda of the educational reform. We are developing now an institute for the development of pre-university education. It is an institute, an agency, the proper place to in an institutionalized way, develop the education reform. Once we have defined this framework of how to professionally develop teachers, librarians, school principals, and even parents, I think we will make the best impact with our students too.
Well, those are encouraging messages, and I hope that these dimensions that are highly important for the society, but the consumers, the youth, students as well, will be able to quickly find place in the educational reform which is ahead of us. And Professor Vajzovic, maybe to kind of wrap it up and end this session with, I would like to hear your impression on, you had a lot of experience with transferring this media and information literacy knowledge to different stakeholders, different members of different societies, different parts of society. And what interests me is when we put it on a practical level, not only speaking in phrases or terms, what does having MIL as a skill, what does it mean in daily life, and what does not having it also mean in daily life?
Well, that's the bottom line which we want to achieve. Daily use of media information literacy is a key competence that we have to have throughout our roles in a day, week, or life. I have to say that media information literacy is seen as also a key agent in implementing UN Agenda 2030 development goals. Without empowered citizens that are empowered with the competence of media information literacy, all those initiatives in implementing Agenda 2030 will be fruitless, I mean, basically. And what Minister Muniminovic-Hota pointed out, we have to make a stimulative framework within educational system that will be as the principal guidelines for all teachers, librarians, and school principals to want to work in raising the skills. What does it mean in daily life? It means, well, the question you have asked just previously, what is the development of strategies and generally discussion of media information literacy on state level. It will mean that citizens will be able to understand why those elected officials are not working in their best interests. They will know how to assess this information, how to use it, and how to make the best decision for the next elections and within the election cycles. They will be empowered to be active citizens, active participants within the civil society. They will be able to discuss among each other's challenges and interests they have, being able to articulate it towards the right individuals and institutions who are responsible for its implementation. They will understand their rights and freedoms and fight for it. So this means the active, proactive citizen, which is not just a manipulative object, but active subject, which is fighting for his dignity and better society for everybody.
Thank you very much, Professor Vajzovic. Thank you, Minister Hota Muminovic, and of course, thank you, Minister Kushi, all of you for being a part of this panel. Now, to conclude, when speaking of media and information literacy, we are obviously speaking as well about democracy, about the rule of law, about human rights, about about different pillars that make a society functional or dysfunctional. So having this in mind, in all of the countries of the Southeast Europe, we do hope to have an increase in the availability of learning skills about media and information literacy, we also need to have a stable political will and the will of people leading the educational institutes to incorporate this in different ways into formal education. Media and information literacy obviously defines the way we perceive social and political dynamics in our society, but it also defines the way we understand everything that happens around us, and that is something we all have a right to understand correctly. So I would like to thank you all for your attention for this first panel. We will have just a short couple minutes switch, and in the next minutes you will be witnessing launching a Southeastern Europe Media Information Literacy platform by our colleagues who will be here in a couple of minutes. So please stay with us here on Zoom, and thank you for your attention so far.